Next on Channel 4, Encounters. Here with Granada is something new, a swap shop.
Are you ever going scuba diving again?
Nah, I'm into hang gliding now.
She loves it down there, don't you, dear?
The Exchange, sponsored by Loot, the free ads paper.
Welcome to the first in a brand new series. The Exchange is the place where anyone can exchange anything.
Our computers have been working round the clock to log your offers into the Exchange database. And remember, if you have anything to exchange, you just call us on 0891 48 48 48.
And then it's all down to you. You make the exchange happen.
And what you see here today is a living replica of our front room. This is just a fraction of the total of exchanges we've received so far, thousands of them. And this is the first exchange we're going to do. This is Jan Harker.
Hi.
Welcome. Hello. Good to have you here first. Let's just kneel down and take a look at this. Jan, what is this?
This is a French antique stove, Mike. It was built about the turn of the century, and you can burn any fuel in it, wood, coal, or we found it best to burn smokeless fuel in it.
So how long did you use it for?
We used it for about 5 years, and then we changed our home around, mainly because we had 2 young children at the time, and we had to build a proper fire surround for it. It's a beautiful stove, and it will fit into lots of different settings, and we intended to put it back into the house, but just didn't have the right opportunity.
Gorgeous finish, this
Yes,
burgundy
lovely.
enamelled finish to the cast iron. Immaculate condition. If I open the top up here, I mean, this is almost 100 years old.
Yes, it is.
And we can see there it's called a Lily, and it was made by De Ville & Co. in Charleville,
That's
in
right.
France.
Yes.
So you're losing it. You want to exchange it?
We do. We want to exchange it for a pottery kiln, hopefully, because we do pottery.
That's what you're doing now as a hobby?
Yes, that's right.
So what type of pottery kiln do you want?
A top-loading one that preferably has what's called a kiln sitter with it, which actually turns off automatically once the preset temperature has been reached.
Well, let's just see what we can get for you. If you have a top-loading pottery kiln, a hobby-size one, and you want this lovely 100-year-old French stove, then you know what to do. Call us.
I'd like you to meet Dan Godfrey now. He's a taxi driver, and as we all know, taxi drivers are experts on, well, life in general, really. But you, Dan, you're an expert on Royal Doulton character jugs.
Sure.
Now, you've got 7 here to exchange. When did your interest in character jugs start?
About 5 years ago.
How collectible are they?
Very collectible in this country and abroad.
When you say abroad, do you mean in the States and where?
Basically everywhere. They are internationally collected.
Now, out of the 7, I know it's the 4 Chelsea pensioner jugs that are especially in demand.
That's right, yeah.
What were they made for? Were they for a particular occasion?
They was made to commemorate the anniversaries of openings of the Doulton rooms in the States.
Right, so they were sent to America first of all.
That's right,
and then some of them have made their way back.
Yeah.
How many of each were made?
250 of the 4 issues.
So there probably aren't that many in this country.
Not many left.
Right, so for collectors, what should they look out for with these?
We're looking at the back stamps on these ones.
Where do we find those?
On the back of the...
Let me just hold that up for you. Right, okay. And that gives you the details that you need to know if you're a collector.
That's right,
The edition number is on there.
It's all on the back
else.
of there, yeah.
That's fine. Let's put that back down there very, very carefully. What do you want in exchange for these 7 jugs?
Well, I would like a long case clock, grandfather clock, or something very ornate.
I wonder if someone at the Royal Hospital in Chelsea might have something along those lines and would love to get their hands on these.
Yeah,
I wonder if we can sort out something like that. Who knows? If you've got a freestanding clock, a grandfather clock, granddaughter clock, then please get in touch with us. 0891 48 48 48 if you'd like these 7 character jugs. Right, having got the first exchanges up and running, it's time to say an enormous thank you to the thousands of people who've been responding to our trailers. Every day, new stories have been coming up on the exchange database, instantly finding matching exchanges and putting them in touch with each other. But sometimes these stories demand on-the-spot human investigation.
This is the semi-detached suburban home of Andy Filewood. And it's the sign above the door that gives you a bit of a clue, because Andy's got a secret. He not only wants to share it with you, he'd like to exchange it with you. How long does it take you to build the railway in the garden?
It's taken me about 18 months. For the excavations, making the track, making the coaches, all the signals and everything else, and the tunnel.
That's a hand-built steam engine?
Yes, it's completely built from just castings and raw material.
And what other engines have you got?
I've got another 2 engines, which are both petrol-driven. One's an aero-gauge diesel engine, built on Russian design, and the other one is a standard class BR10.
And what do you pull behind the engines?
Normally 10 to 20 children.
Tell me about the detail of laying this in someone's back garden. Somebody who may come up with the right exchange for you is going to take this away. How would they lay the track in their garden?
First of all, you sort of have to excavate about a foot of land below the level of the soil. Then you have to lay granite on to give a firm base. And then you have to set the railway in, take it into account cambers on corners and gradients and the other light work, if you want to go that serious. But with this railway, because it's quite a large size railway on a small gauge, you can virtually do it with eyesight.
So for those people watching who may want to have this in their back garden, what are you actually offering here?
I'm offering part or the complete railway, some of the locos if they just want the locos, or the whole thing as a lock, stock and barrel.
And how much track have you got here?
There is about 500 feet running around the garden.
What do you want in exchange for all of this? Because it's hard to put... Firstly, you can't put a financial value on it because there's so much work has gone into this. What do you want in exchange for it?
I think the next move for me, with the railway sort of being complete now, it's been down for a number of years, I want to go the big step, and the big step is going full size. And unfortunately, I can't really run a full-size engine in this garden, and they're a bit hard to obtain these days. But I'd like to play with the traction engines or the steamrollers, so I'm looking for a full-size preserved traction engine or steamroller.
Sorry, you want to play with a steamroller?
Yes, yes. Nobody argues with you when you've got a steamroller.
Does your wife know?
She has a little inkling, yes. I haven't heard any rumours of, no, you're not having it yet. But I expect when it gets a bit closer, you never know.
So is this the one for you? Is this the exchange that would bring a smile to your face? Are you that rare person with a traction engine or a steamroller? And do you want to become a commuter in your own back garden? 0891 48 48 48.
So if you happen to be a train spotter and you just happen to have a spare steamroller hanging around, well, anything's possible. If you missed that number, no problem. We'll tell you again during the programme, and you can look it up in any TV listings magazine or on page 655 of Teletext. Now it's time to introduce the third member of the presenting team. Somewhere between Del Boy and Lovejoy, his knowledge of artefacts, ancient and modern, how to make them work and keep them working, will astound and amaze. Welcome, please, Ronnie Bock.
Sarah.
What I forgot to say, Ronnie, is that you also have a very good nose for a story. What's with the suit of armour?
You look fantastic. But let me surprise you first.
Yeah, I might have known. Who's
Might have
this?
known. This is Ron Jones, the owner of this wonderful suit of armour. Hello, Ron.
Ron, how did you come by the suit of armour?
I bought it in a state of madness about 6 years ago.
And where did you keep it at home?
I keep it in the hallway at home, but we've just adopted a dog. It just doesn't get on with it, and Margaret's just said, get rid of it. I've got to go.
It's got to go. Margaret's your wife.
Margaret's my wife.
The dog's
yeah.
staying. The armour's got to go.
Yeah.
Ronnie, what drew you towards this armour?
Well,
What does
just
that to do?
wonderful example of a copy of a very early suit of armour. It's a pastiche copy in various periods, and it's the general condition that's so good.
So when
Not
does this
you,
date...
the armour.
When does this date back to?
This is a Victorian one, about 1890.
Why would the Victorians have wanted suits of armour?
Well, they wanted them to adorn their revival castles. They built castles in Gothic revival and
Reinvented their
manor houses.
heritage, really.
Well, absolutely.
Whoever gets this suit of armour, how would they take care of it? What sort of maintenance is involved?
Well, quite simple, really. Keep it lightly oiled in all the joints and wax it, and it'll look after itself.
What do you want in exchange?
Believe it or not, Sarah, a rough terrain forklift, 2 ton. It's got to pick up 2 ton. If not, a half truck, a diesel 4-wheel half truck for my country pursuits.
Have you got a truck? Do you want the armour?
Oh, I'll find you a truck.
No, you can't. I'm sorry, you're on the staff. It doesn't count. Good luck with that exchange,
Thank you,
Ron.
sir.
And I think the next thing we better do is find you a tin opener to get you out. See you.
Well, I'm here leafing through our next exchange. We all know the story of Elsa the Lioness, Born Free, the movie, the story of Joy and George Adamson. And of course, the stars of that movie were Virginia McKenna, who's here with us on the exchange, and your late husband, Bill Travers, played the part of George Adamson.
That's right.
You have brought with you this evening the most remarkable thing I've seen so far. This is the stamp album of George Adamson. Now, why have you brought this to us, and what's so special about it?
Well, I think it's very special because it's George's, and it was his for many, many, many years. We've discovered all sorts of exciting things. Apart from the stamp, we've discovered a rather remarkable first-day cover, which is the first UK aerial post.
We were just leafing through it. This is from 1911, October 1911, so that's been tucked inside here. I'll put it back in. And this is one of the first ever airmail letters sent in the world. So this is really special for people who collect stamps. What was George Adamson doing collecting stamps when he was out there working with lions in Africa?
Well, he was working with lions in the day, but I think, you know, a lot of people from all over the world visited his camp, and when they left, they were so touched and inspired by this man that they wrote a lot of letters to him. And over the years, he collected a tremendous amount of stamps. And so in the evening, he would sit in his mess hut and he would stick in his stamps. Never, of course, realizing that one day, although he gave it to my husband, Bill, as a gift, never realizing that one day it could be used to help lands in the future.
Well, the spirit of George Adamson lives on because you have the Born Free Foundation now, which is out there looking for lions in distress in zoos around the world and various places. And you're trying to get funds together to make that all happen. And here is the spirit of George Adamson in this that you're offering as well. It's a lovely limited edition print of George and two lions that you recognise.
Yes, I know them very well. I knew them very well, those lions, Christian and Boy. Boy was actually in Born Free, and Christian we took from a furniture shop in London and actually lived with us in England for 4 months, and then George rehabilitated him back to the wild.
So what do you need in exchange for this wonderful offer?
Well, we have rescued 2 lions from a rooftop bar in Tenerife, where they were living in the most dreadful little cage. They're now living in a very nice enclosure in Kent. We want to develop this enclosure and make it bigger, but we also want to save more lions. So we want a wonderful, creative, enthusiastic landscape contractor to help work with our architect to design a stimulating, naturalistic enclosure with logs, trees, bushes, everything a lion could want. Not in the wild, of course, but as best as we can do in captivity.
So this is for movie buffs, this is for conservationists. Please pay attention to what Virginia McKenna has just said, and thank you so much for bringing us in. Delight to see you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Well, you must be getting an idea by now of the enormous range of items that we have on offer and in demand. Now, if you recognise this, you're on your way to guessing the nature of our star offer. Find out exactly what that is after the break. See you for more exchanging in a couple of minutes.
The MG is going to have to go.
Why pay more? With 4 rolls of new squeezably soft Andrex for only £1.95. Maybe you should be shopping at QuickSave.
Only you can make this world seem right. Only you can make the darkness bright.
Network Q give their cars 114 separate checks, so if you want to use car, there's only one place to go.
The mortgage that we were looking for was a difficult one.
I don't think we could have asked for anybody better than the Britannia. I mean, they were brilliant.
Then we did the DIY. Oh dear. Or just stood there in hysterics. That was it. That was exactly what she was doing.
For the Britannia Guide to Mortgages and Home Buying, call 0800 443322.
Free tickets to Alton Towers. Yes, every Sun reader can get 2 free tickets to Alton Towers worth up to £33. Brave the awesome Nemesis and all the other big rides. There are over 125 fun-filled attractions to choose from. Run away with 2 free Alton Towers tickets. Don't hang around. Get tomorrow's great value Sun.
trapped in, dear.
Sunday night on ITV is exchange night, and here are some deals that have happened right here this evening. Fred Duffield arrived with a cement mixer. Why?
Well, I've done all the jobs with it that I need to do, so the next step is to use a chainsaw to do some timber reclamation.
Are you sure you're doing building work with all this stuff?
No.
It's a petrol-driven cement mixer, and you want to exchange it for a chainsaw, and we found Jamie Porter. You rang in and said you'd actually got a brand new chainsaw. Why is it brand new?
Well, mainly because my girlfriend said that it was far too dangerous for an idiot like me to control, and that I ought to swap it for something more constructive, like a marvellous little cement mixer.
Well, personally, I think you could have used it because you need a couple of inches off your legs anyway, don't
Thanks
you,
very
Jamie?
much,
Yeah.
yes.
But I'll leave you two to get on with it then, because over here I've got to go and meet Deirdre Cliff, who's waiting for me up here round the corner, and there she is, Deirdre. This is you and your exercise bike, right?
That's right, yeah.
But you've given up using it, Deirdre. Now you're going to have to tell the nation why.
Well, it's too energetic for me, and I've decided I'll go swimming instead.
But you've got a pretty hectic job, haven't you?
That's right, yes. I'm a nurse, and I'm up and down the ward, so I get plenty of exercise there, actually.
OK, so you're giving up the fitness thing, but what do you want in exchange for it?
Well, I was thinking of a toaster.
And we found Joe Little. You rang in because?
I've got 2 toasters.
2 toasters. So you've got a spare one, and do you really want an exercise bike? Because look at you, well-fed hairpin.
Got to keep it this way, though, somehow.
All right, well, I'll leave you two to exchange there, because now you can get stuck into the toaster and pound on those slices, and she can get on the bike and slice off the pounds.
Thank you. Paul Lewis Brown makes wine and beer at home, or at least he did. Tell us what you've brought in to exchange.
Sure. Various containers and bottles and demijohns and a concoction of chemicals to make all the beer and wine in the home.
What do you want in exchange?
Various watercolour equipment and books and paints, mainly paints.
Guess who just happens to want to start making a drop of home brew? None other than pen and ink artist Chris Stanley. Welcome. Have you got a vehicle large enough to get all this home?
No, I think so. My girlfriend Sarah came with me tonight. I think she'll have to stay here, but
Exchange
I should get it back, yeah.
What have you brought in for Paul?
Well, I've brought some watercolours, actually. It's a nice new unsullied set.
Splendid.
And
that
there's
looks
a book there and some
book.
watercolour paper as well.
And some papers. You've got the full set of equipment there. Are you happy, Paul?
Smashing.
Good. Are you happy, Chris?
Well, yeah, I thought they were going to be full, but I'm still happy.
I'm afraid
Yeah.
that's up to you, actually. Enough of these indoor pursuits for the moment. Time to go outside.
This is the life. This is Brancaster on the north coast of Norfolk. Jamie Borthwick rang us, and he said, have I got an offer for you? Well, it's for you, really. It's a chance to get out of that armchair and do something physical. Get the wind in your hair and the salt on your lips. Jamie, what are you offering?
We're offering sailing or windsurfing instruction, plus 5 days board in a local hotel.
Now, this instruction, are we talking about going from ground level or sea level upwards?
We can go from any level, really, certainly in sailing, but we can teach absolute beginners, and they need have no fear about coming out in these waters, which are very safe.
To learn to sail or windsurf, do you have to be able to swim?
It's useful, of course, but in fact it's recommended that so long as you're capable of swimming about 25 metres, that's sufficient. You've got buoyancy aids on all the time, and rescue boats always close at hand.
In terms of your school, describe it to us. Is it a recognised school?
Indeed it is. The school's been running for 7 years. We're recognised by the Royal Yachting Association to carry out instruction in dinghy sailing and windsurfing, and also powerboating too.
And can you deal with any age group at all?
Absolutely. We can teach from kids 6 to 60 plus, and we often do.
And you're offering this for 2 people?
This is for 2 people, indeed, and they need have no experience whatsoever at all, just keenness and interest in having a go.
And all the equipment is included?
All equipment is included, all the clothing, changing facilities, all the logbooks, everything is included.
So, what do you want in exchange?
What we're looking for is an IBM compatible PC, preferably a 386 or 486 series with software for accounting and database processing.
So you've got plenty of wind power here, but what you need is some processing power.
I need plenty of data processing power.
Why is
Lots
that?
of megabytes.
Why's that?
Why is that? Well, obviously, sailing here is all about fun, and that's great. That's what I came here for in the first place. But what we really need is the data processing to organise our customer files, to organise our accounts, keep everything shipshape.
So do you think that's the exchange for you? Do you want to go windsurfing or sailing? Just call us, 0891 48 48 48.
Mike's got a computer. Now, amongst the items on offer, there are always a few that need a connoisseur's eye. And so, as a regular feature, we'll be bringing in a specialist. Now, this week, it's Paul Tippett, ceramics expert from Christie's in South Kensington. Welcome, Paul.
Hello, Sarah.
You've brought in some beautiful pieces of Staffordshire pottery. Are there many collectors in this country?
There are thousands of collectors.
When do most of these pieces date from?
Well, they date from the early 18th century until the late 19th century.
This lion, he's beautiful. How much would he be worth?
I'm hoping he's going to make between £600 and £800 at auction.
Are there many fakes around?
There are lots. They're quite easy to tell, though. They're generally made of porcelain, not pottery, and they feel quite different. They're painted in a completely different way, and there's an intentional crackling to the glaze, which is quite easy to spot.
Someone who would be able to spot it, I know, Paul, is David Wigg,
Hello, Sarah.
showbiz editor of the Daily Express. Now, I associate you with the likes of Nicole Kidman, Liza Minnelli, Joan Collins, and here you are, an avid collector of Staffordshire pottery. Why?
Because when you collect Staffordshire like this, it is history, theatrical history to me. Every actor, every famous actor and actress is created in Staffordshire. And this is one of the most famous pieces of all. This is the Red Barn Murder, which actually happened in 1827, and it was turned into this figure. After this man decided he wouldn't marry his bride-to-be, he decided to murder her.
This is the famous Mary Martin melodrama is based on,
Absolutely.
isn't
It became
Yes.
a famous Victorian play, ran for many, many years in England, and then they've created this wonderful piece of pottery.
How much would that be worth?
Apparently £4,000 roughly.
Good Lord. Now, what about these beautiful lovers?
Romeo and Juliet.
The most famous lovers of all.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is it that you're exchanging?
Well, Sarah, I decided I'd like to exchange Apollo, the Greek god of music and archery and philosophy, and I'd like to get Neptune, because I haven't got a Neptune in my collection, and I believe it's quite a fine-looking figure. Paul, am I doing the right thing?
I think you've got a good chance. That's a very well-modelled early figure made about 1810. It's really nicely decorated in overglazed enamels. It's in good condition. I think you've got a good chance of getting what you want.
It's good to know. Thank you.
If there are any collectors out there who happen to have the Neptune and would like an Apollo, this is the place to come to. Please get in touch with us. Thank you very much, Paul, and good luck, David.
Pleasure,
Thank you
Sarah.
both, gentlemen.
Thank you.
This is the big moment. This is our star offer of the week. Just before we go tonight, take a look at this. Are you bored with the wheels in your life? That hatchback too little for you? How about this then? Because we have this wonderful Rolls-Royce 1961 Silver Cloud 2 on offer right now. Pat O'Shaughnessy, good evening.
How do you do?
How are you doing? This is Pat's Rolls-Royce. Now, let's just briefly tell your story. You came to this country from Ireland.
Yes.
How many years ago?
1960.
And you came here with one idea in mind.
That's right,
What was
to be
that?
successful.
To be successful.
That's right.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a plumber and just drain clearer.
General
You know,
stuff.
Just
Okay.
Just the basics.
But you got yourself a Rolls-Royce. You were very successful.
One of three.
And this is the last one you ever
This is
owned?
the last one. I've sold the others.
So what have you done with this Rolls-Royce? Where's it been?
Not a lot. Well, I've used it, first of all, when I first bought it, I used it as a van.
As a van?
So, yes, that's right.
What, with your tools in the
With
back
my
of it?
tools in the back and the drain rods in the boot.
Right, and then where else did you go with it?
Well, then I did the Scandinavian countries in the 1980s, and I suddenly got really successful and made some money.
Yeah, so you've toured around a bit. Now,
I've toured around.
how many miles do you think you've done in this?
I've done 64,000.
Wow.
I entered a contest in the Isle of Man in 1981.
To do what?
And won it. It was an obstacle course.
Oh,
the only
did
thing
you?
I've ever entered into, and I won it.
Well, so we know it's manoeuvrable then anyway.
Oh, yes.
It's generally in good nick. It is,
Oh, yeah.
It's MOT'd?
Yes, it's MOT'd, insured, yes.
Is it taxed for the road,
No,
Pat?
it's not taxed at the moment, but...
We can sort that out, don't
We
worry.
can,
We can
can't
sort
we?
that out.
Listen, do you want this?
I just think, what do you want in exchange?
Well, I am open to any offer for any vehicle valued 14 to 14,500 quid.
Are you listening to this?
But what I really, really want
Yes.
for my wife and I is a Suzuki Vitara 5-door automatic. It has got to be automatic.
I'm sure we can find
Right.
one from somewhere.
The value of that is 13,800, so it's a bloody good deal.
But in the meantime, can I look after the keys?
You most certainly can.
For you. Have you got them about your person?
Can I just rush forth and get them for you?
Don't worry about that. I'll take care of it.
This is an 18-foot-long car we have here. There aren't many people who could get this across the width of their house, are there, really?
In the kitchen?
We're almost out of time tonight. We have to go. Join us again next Sunday night for the exchange, because whatever's in the programme next week is entirely up to you. Thank you for watching tonight. Thank you, Pat, and good luck.
Keep phoning. Keep the offers coming in. See you next week.
Ridiculous.
Will you shut up? Ready, and...
The Exchange, sponsored by Loot, the free ads paper.